if somebody gets on, a little bit late, we'll come back and put this up. But let's go ahead and get started with our agenda today. The first thing that we want to talk about is the quarterly reports that are due. So those are coming up 4/30, the end of this month. Those are the periodic financial report and the periodic performance report. I know Tara's, sent those out to you guys several times, so you should have those. Basically, what you just need to do is take your last report and update it. This time period is going to be from 1/1/2018 to 3/31/2018. And then the periodic quarterly report or the periodic financial report, you also need to support your send in your trial balance that supports the cost. And the other thing you need to do is make sure that your trial balance reflects what's posted in the GRS. So whatever your cash requests are and whatever your expenditures are that are posted in the GRS have to reconcile with that trial balance. And once again, if you need to do a crosswalk, that's fine. We just need to understand how the trial balance aligns with your cost categories in the GRS. So this information goes to our financial office, and we have assigned financial planners that are looking at this. So we just need to make sure that it's very clear that how you reported your costs compared to your trial balance reflect each other. And a crosswalk is the best way to do that. So if we can't specifically see it on your trial balance, provide the crosswalk. And then once again, your project status report, I would update it based upon the last one. I do believe in that one, if I'm not mistaken, that I don't know if you have to do any data entry because we do have information that we pull from the system. So the IWDS is our primary source as far as data is concerned on that, but follow the instructions that Tara provided on those. Okay. Enough with that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is modifications, and we have received a lot of modifications in from you guys. There's some new information we've got related to this. I think you guys were told about a month or two ago that we were going to be extending these grants to December of 2019. Well, we found out that that is not going to be, we're not going to be able to do that. The life of this money expires in June of 2019. So we will be extending all of the grants for those agencies that want to extend them through June of 2019. Quite a few of you guys have an end date. There may be a couple that go past the end of December of this, and I think there's a few that close before, maybe a little bit earlier. You can't extend those, and we'll extend all of them. But what I'm saying is with this project, there's a year of follow-up that's required. And I am going to share my screen here real quick. And I'm going to bring up the TEAGL, that's the youth TEAGL, and it's also included, and let me pull this over, so I've got this over here. It's also included as a download, so I recommend that you download that document. And on page 19, and this is the DOL TEAGL related to youth services, and on page 19 of that TEAGL, it talks about follow-up services, and this is a required element for the youth programs. So the follow-up services have to be for a year after the last service activity was added to the customer. And you can kind of read through this. The last date is determined by our IWDS system. So it'll look at, after 90 days, if there's no activity in that customer file, it'll take that last date of services provided in our IWDS system, and then that is considered to be the exit date. And then the follow-up, the year follow-up is based upon that specific date. So if you're looking at this, what if it got on the screen, it talks about the 275 days is after that 90 days. So if there's no activity within a case after 90 days, then that is the exit date. So we need to provide follow-up services for these youth for a year period. So what's going to happen in these particular grants, unfortunately, is that if you've closed out the program and you're providing no more services, say at the end of December of this year, then you can have 6 months within the grant term that you can charge the grant for follow-up services, and those services will be minimal because with the follow-up services, we're looking at, monthly, I think monthly follow-up is required. So once a month, you need to reach out to these customers and see if there's any specific services, so like supportive services, adult mentoring, financial literacy. There's a whole list of these that you can read on the screen. If they need career planning or if you need to prepare them for post-secondary education, those are all considered the follow-up services that you need to be providing for that year after you quit services out of this grant. For support services, during that time that the grant is open, you can still pay for support services. So if they needed transportation, you can do that out of the grant while the grant is open. Once the grant terminates, if there's any support services that are needed, say after the end of June, then you need to align them with other resources for those support services. So you need to be able to connect the youth with other resources that can provide those supportive services. Because once the grant is closed, you can't charge any more costs to that grant. Now, the unfortunate part of this, and like I said, this was a pilot project, and this is our first go with this, is that after June, there's still going to be a requirement of the follow-up, but there's not going to be, you guys aren't going to be able to charge a grant because you're not going to have a grant associated with that. But there's still going to be a requirement for potentially 6 months at the most of follow-up services, with the exception of one of our organizations whose grant goes longer than the end of December. So that's going to still have to be done. It's going to have to be like a leveraged or an in-kind, and this should be part of your sustainability plan with these projects anyway, because I'm hoping that, you know, once you've done your training with these youth and you're aligning them with other resources, maybe they're going to be co-enrolled in WIOA or other programs that you potentially can offer, that you can, that 6 months you would still be following up with those regardless of, if the grant's open or closed. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. We're going to have some more information on one of our other webinars related specifically to follow-up services, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. So our grants, based upon if you guys are agreeable with all of this, that they will end the end of June of 2019. If you're planning on ending services in December, please continue to plan on that. And they can end earlier based upon your program design. If you're ending, services in August of this year, that's fine too. We just need to take a look at your contract as far as how many you planned on serving and your matrices to see if, if we're in line with your service numbers. And with the modifications, we're going to look at that too. So we'll look at your service numbers, and if we need to look at deobligating based upon, a low number, less numbers than you anticipated being enrolled in the program, that's going to be considered during these modifications. So I've been talking a lot. Let me go back and see. Please download that document so you can take a look at that, and it provides other information also related to WIOA requirements. Okay. Let's see here. We've got some questions. Yes, so it is spelled out in the TEAGL. Stephanie, if you take a look at that TEAGL, and especially with the, like I said, page 19 and 20 talk about the retention services. And the other thing to keep in mind is if they're co-enrolled with the WIOA, they may still be getting services past that. So if the LWIA is co-enrolling them, then that follow-up services technically falls upon the LWIA, because if they're providing services past the date that you're doing services, then they are also going to be doing follow-up service with that. So Jim, are you on? Can I ask you a quick to clarify that? If they're co-enrolled and the LWIA is still providing services past when this grant ends services, the LWIA will continue the follow-up?
Well, this is how it works. If they're co-enrolled, they can't exit one application until all applications are finished. So if the client is co-enrolled in the apprenticeship or pathway program, they just stop giving the services, but whomever still has open services, the client would stay open. So this is real important for coordination of service between both grantees, so if the client's co-enrolled. So when you say, or with the OWIA do follow-up, nobody would be doing the follow-up because the client would still have open services if they were still being served. Does that make sense?
So in this particular case, our grantee's requirement is, would it be like null and void because the follow-up services?
Well, they can't be exited because they would still want to do their part of following up just because it's good customer service.
Right.
And then they would document via case notes what they were doing. but the client wouldn't be exited because he or she would still be getting services if they were co-enrolled. So it's not an exited client.
Okay. So in this particular case, what they should do is add the follow-up services as a service delivery and case note it, but the customer would not be exited because it would be based upon the LWIA final date of service.
Right, exactly. Still having, if they're still serving them.
Correct.
So
Okay.
it's really important to make sure, if we're co-enrolling folks, we need to make sure our ISSs are really matching up, because the ISS for the local area that co-enrolls should look exactly the same as the ISS for the apprenticeship. That way everybody's on the same page of who's paying for what services, and there's no in instances where people are paying for the same services multiple times.
Okay. If anybody has questions related to that, go ahead and put them in the chat pod. That'd be great, and we'll follow up. I have a couple other questions here regarding the grant end date. The grant end date will be June of 2019. And yes, you still can continue services if you commit to that year follow-up once the grant is done. So, and this is something, like I said, it has to be a monthly follow-up that has to be documented in the workNet system. This is part of our performance that we have to do with Department of Labor. So you will have to commit, and this will be something that we'll put in the modification as a requirement that you're committing to that year follow-up. So yes, the question is yes, you can continue program services as long as you're willing to do that follow-up as a leveraged or in kind after the grant's done. Okay, do we have, let me see, where's the TEAGLE located? Because the TEAGLE is down, if you look down to the left-hand side, it's the files, April 4, 2019, and it's TEAGLE 21-16 PD. If you click on that, you can download that file and then save it to your computer. So I recommend that you do that, so because it's got all of that information related to the follow-up and other activities. And there are 14 elements related to youth programs too, and that's a good thing for you to read also. I guess it's what if they were co-enrolled after our program? So your program ends and then they go to the WIOA program and then they become co-enrolled in that. Now, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they are co-enrolled before the 90 days, it would be the same thing as if they were co-enrolled with your program. But if they ended up enrolling in them after the 90 days, they are exited if there's no services provided within that 90-day period. So they would be exited. So, Jim, the LW would have to open an enrollment for them.
Well, let's make sure we're all talking about the same thing. So the client is a youth pathways or apprenticeship client. He or she finishes services through the apprenticeship or pathways program, and they're finished with that. If the client hasn't been co-enrolled yet with the LWIA, then that's not a factor. But if they have been co-enrolled, then it goes back to what I spoke about before, is they couldn't exit either program until all services are finished. But if they're coming on after the client was exited, the co-enroll has nothing to do with it. They would still provide their own follow-up because it's not a co-enrollment. It's a totally separate application. It would be a totally separate registration afterwards. But I would think that'd be few and far between, just guessing. I would think they would co-enroll before or during the same time more than afterwards.
Or I could see maybe that once they've completed their program, say that next month, they are placed in the WIOA services, so it would be prior to the 90 days.
But what would be it all depends on the plan. Everything has to be spelled in ISS. I'm trying to think of there's all sorts of different circumstances. So, but if they're not registered with the LWIA when they're finished service with the partner or apprenticeship pathway grant, then it's not a factor of co-enroll. It's afterwards. So, but your grantees would still do their follow-up. Just act like they wouldn't even know, because it's a total separate entity if the client registers afterwards, because they wouldn't be considered the co-enroll.
Great. So the position is then follow-up for the year, regardless if they're exited or not. I mean, ultimately, so you need to keep track of your customers. There may be follow-up done on the LWIA side based upon, what their exit date is. But whenever you're finished with services with your customers, add the follow-up activity and then do your follow-up for a year based upon when you end services. So any other questions on that? And like I said, we will have another webinar that goes a little bit more in depth on the follow-up services for you guys. I just wanted to, this is very relevant to the modifications, so that's why I wanted to talk about this on the call today. Okay, so one other thing I'm going to pull up now is I'm going to pull up our screen, my screen again, share my screen. And this is where we are at. And I pulled these numbers off today. Let me see if I can minimize this a little bit. And let me know if this is too small to read for you guys. Okay. My computer's thinking here. Natasha, is that too small? Should I make it bigger? There we go.
You can make it a little bigger.
Can I make it a little bigger? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can we see everything, or do I need to scroll down based upon that?
Well, you can't see everything, but you can just scroll down as you're talking about it.
Okay. So I pulled these numbers off of the dashboard today, and we are making some really great progress. Some of the things that look good is when you have the recommend for enrollment and enrolled and registered, when that's either the same or just a little bit less. So like Youth Build McLean has got 13 that were recommend for enrollment, and they've got 13 that were enrolled in the LWIA. Now the one thing you want to look at is anything in the red. So you've got 23 right now that are sitting in suitability review past 5 days. So some action needs to be taken with those customers. And we've had quite a few people talk to us about, we keep getting these emails of actions that we need to do, and we're not sure what's going on with it. Anytime there's something sitting in the red areas, that's when they're going to receive notification that an action needs to be taken. So whenever you get those emails, just take a look at your dashboard and look in the red areas and see if there's something that needs to be done. And that's what those specific emails are related to. So like I said, a lot of you guys are doing great. We talked about the other day about the ISS step that needed to be added. You guys nailed that. I mean, we've really did the ISS. We've got those in. There's a few of them that are lagging here. So like McLean, you've got 1. Methodist, you've got 6. So you still need to do your ISSs for your customers. OAI, you've got 3 that are sitting out there. We have got 1 for Phalanx and then 1 for Methodist. Or, I'm sorry, here, let me get over here so I can see. 1 for Manufacturing Renaissance, and then we've got 4 still sitting here for Lewis and Clark. But you guys did great. I mean, that's so much better than we were a couple weeks ago. And then the other good part is we're really doing well on adding our services. So one of the things I noticed on services, so we've got, our case management, academic, and work-based learning. I anticipate that anybody that you're serving would have a case management step. So an example, OAI, you've got 8 individuals receiving academic, and then you've got 9 in work-based learning, but then you've got 6 receiving case management. I would anticipate all of your customers are going to have a case management step and should. So your case management, I would think, should be the same as what you have enrolled in your program and that you're serving. So that's just kind of a heads up, when you're looking at your services to see if maybe there's something missing on some of your service delivery. But we've done much better on getting the services entered in this also. Like I said, once again, the main things we need to keep track of are the red lines. Prairie State, you've got 6 that are sitting as an incoherent status. Matricana looks like you've got 1 sitting there and in an incoherent status. And those are the ones where you need to work with your WIA partner to make sure those are moving. Now we've got something kind of funky going on with business and career services. We've got like 37 that show up as being enrolled, recommend for enrollment. But when we look at the ones that are enrolled in IWDS, you have 52. So we can work with you offline on this, but there is definitely a disconnect between the enrollment in the workNet and what's actually enrolled in the IWDS system. So I'm not sure if there was applications that were submitted earlier in IWDS that weren't put into the workNet system. Not sure how that happened, but technically you should have more people recommend for enrollment than you do have registered. I mean, ultimately we want that number to be the same. So I'm looking at Manufacturing Renaissance right now. They've got 27 enrolled. They have one that's not synced yet, and they have 26 that are IWDS registrants. So once that one's synced, then that 26 will probably turn into 27. So if you have any questions on this, like I said, just monitor your dashboards. They're really getting much better. We do have one in Lewis and Clark, too, where the IWDS number is higher, a little bit higher than the enrollment. And I'm not sure if that's because of the suitability study or what, but we'll take a look at those and work with you individually on those. Something else that we have here is, once again, in the red, is services that have been requested for IWDS that are more than 5 days past due. So these are the services being added in the IWDS, and that is something that, once again, we need to just make sure that we're working collaboratively with our LWIAs on this. And I know we talked several times with the LWIA in the Peoria area. They've got 4 different grantees, and I know they have a backlog. And so, we understand that situation with what's going on with them. We just need to continue to work, to improve those processes. So is there any questions on this? I'm going to stop sharing my screen again and go back to the webinar. Can't see mine. And if you guys want, I can send this document out to you guys. This is information that's just, like I said, once again, it's on your dashboard. Let me know if this document, I just basically took different parts of the most significant ones on this. One of the other things that I didn't mention on the dashboard, we only have one agency that actually has credentials documented. At this point, I think we really need to be getting some credentials uploaded. The next part that we're going to be adding is the completion side of it. So we're going to start looking at credentials and the completion status, because we should be working towards that with some of our customers. Please share the document. I will share the document. Okay, so BCS, yeah, we'll work with you then on that to see, those numbers that disconnect. And okay, BCS, Amanda, we'll work with you on that to see what's going on with that particular case. We will have questions because we should have 25 enrolled, 25 recommended, and 2 that were not suitable. Oh, the credentials. Amanda, you said the credentials aren't coming over. Okay, Natasha, we'll work with BCS on the credential side and make sure that things...
Cody, it's already in queue for him to do. It's just he hasn't had a chance to get to it yet.
Okay. Okay. At this point, if you're working on the IWDS side, keep adding the credentials, and then we'll make sure that links up. And on the workNet side, they can still add their credentials on the workNet side, correct?
Yeah, it's just a display issue.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, now with that, why don't we open up the lines and see if there's anything specific that each of you want to talk about related to your projects. So is everybody's lines open?
Yeah, nobody's muted.
Okay, so youth build. Do you want to give just a report out on how things are going with your projects?
Hi there. Good morning. Youth Build McLean County, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm actually filling in for Tracy today, so I don't have a lot of the information. She had an emergency come up, so unfortunately, I'm just trying to take notes for her. But what kind of specific question? I don't know if I'll be able to answer them or not, I guess.
And that's fine. It's just kind of basically an update of your project, how things are going, participant numbers, if you have any assistance that you need with the workNet, or any good things that you can share, or any things that you think would make the program better.
I mean, as far as I know, things are going very well. we have our case managers working with our participants, and we'll be logging those case notes in the workNet system. But unfortunately, I sit behind a computer and do the the data entry, so I don't have too much information other than that. Other than I know that it's going well, and our case managers are in contact with our youth pretty much at all times, and getting them ready for to make the most out of this program.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, Prairie State. Do we have anybody from Prairie State? Okay, we'll move on to Methodist.
Good morning. I just started eating my lunch, so of course my mouth is full.
Sorry. Always happens that way.
Always. This is Eileen Setti, and yeah, we're doing well. We just finished, we're just past midterms at the college, and so our apprentices are mostly in a panic about their grades, and we're on the final push to get to finals. But they're doing well. They're taking their first medical assisting course and working on their general education requirements. We're doing a lot of support services with them to make sure that they're doing well in class. They're on a very steep learning curve on just getting acclimated to college. So things like taking notes and how to study, how to read textbooks, how to prepare for tests. So it has been a tough semester for them, but they are persevering and they're working hard.
Sounds great. And if you guys can document, like I said, even your trials and tribulations that you're having, and things that looking forward for future grants too, things that we can take into consideration, that would be great. And I know we've talked, especially with the support services needs that these youth need to maintain in these programs is significant. So we want to make sure we're capturing all that for future, program designs also. So, okay, let's move to Matricon.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. We've got 4 students enrolled. One is enrolled, but he hasn't showed up for class yet. An additional one, which would make 5. Then I have an appointment this Friday to do a suitability application with a new student. And while sitting here, I received a text today from another student. He just went and did his drug screen. So as soon as I get confirmation from his drug screen, hopefully I'll get his suitability application completed next week and get him enrolled. So those are 2 brand new students. I have meetings this Thursday with another coworker. We're going to meet with 2 new companies, hopefully to find some additional work sites for our work experience mentoring program. And then that's why you keep seeing that one person that is in the inquirant, is because he hasn't shown up for class yet, so I can move him from inquirement to certified. So that's the status on us right now.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. Appreciate
You're welcome.
It. Okay, OII. Anyone from OII on? I hear echoing with mine. Might mute my computer so that helps.
Thank you. Phone number. You left out a phone number.
What's that? Oh, sorry. I see Dan texting, or Don texting here. Let's go ahead to City of Peoria then.
You want me to put my phone number?
Do you have anybody from City of Peoria? Let me take a look here.
Prairie State's available. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you want to go ahead and give a report?
Yeah, so we're right now, sorry, working on I'm so sorry. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure can.
I'm sorry. I said something about the microphone. So we are working right now on just getting all the files looking uniform. So, and then just making sure that all the dates in the file and WIOA are accurate.
And have you been monitored? I believe you have, haven't you? Or did you have a TA?
We haven't been, have we had somebody come and monitor us?
Correct.
We're due, I believe, later on, I think the week of the 23rd, we're having someone come in.
Okay, great. Great, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that is important for everybody to make sure that you have the documentation and the customer files also locally for monitoring purposes when they come out. I know we've had quite a few, and I think we're doing relatively good on the monitor. I don't think we've had any real significant findings. Most everything it appears to be something that we can correct.
Thank you. Yeah, and so that's I think been the biggest learning curve is just realizing what documents we have and which ones need still to be filled to make sure that the folders are complete and ready to be evaluated. So that's been a big bulk of our effort right now.
Good. Sounds good. Perfect.
Thank you.
Failing.
Hi, this is Natasha from Failing. We're doing pretty good. We finished our certification part of our first cohort. So we had 12 applicants, and out of the 12, all 12 of them received at least 2 or more certifications. About 5 completed all, 4 only missed 1, and then there's 3 that only missed maybe 2 certifications. We have 7 of our youth employed or on a work experience that leads up to employment. We have 2 youth pending for employment and 3 that we're still working with to kind of build more of their job skills. Right now, we are recruiting for our second cohort, in which we're offering HVAC Level 1, in which we also are working with employers for work experience after that program is over as well, so that they can kind of gain more of a better work experience as well as leading up to employment. So we're working on things.
That's great. Hey, and just by a show of hands, how many of you have established relationships with employers? So once they're done with their training programs, they have a specific place that they're going to go. And you could just raise your hand at the top there. This is awesome. We've got 6 people that have responded positively, 7. That's great because that's all part of this career pathways and apprenticeships is to have those employer relationships established so that you have a place for these individuals to go. Okay, Business and Career Services. Anybody on from Business and Career Services?
I'm on. This is Amanda. So we are finishing next week will be our last week of our second cohort's job readiness. So we're getting ready to start focusing on really getting our participants placed into their internship sites. But other than that, we're doing okay.
And what type of internships is that going to be again?
We focus on manufacturing.
Manufacturing. Okay. Okay. And then what is the specific functions they'll be doing with that on the internships?
It just depends on the employer. So we have a similar program that we do through our regular WIOA funding. So we have a lot of different relationships with employers. So it just depends. But usually we like to try to have them rotate within the company to learn different aspects of what those companies offer for jobs.
Sounds good. And then do you see maybe your customers have certifications earned
I'm
yet,
sorry,
or
what was that?
have they got certifications that they've earned?
Yeah, so we do OSHA 10 and forklift. So I believe this group has already done their forklift, which is the one which would count for the credential.
Okay. Great. And like I said, that's one of the things that we're going to be wanting to follow up to is making sure all of the credentials. And like Natasha said, there's some work that's being done on the workNet side for that also. But we
I did notice last week that we were pulling 0 in our Illinois WorkNet, but I went in and all of our first cohort, those credentials are entered into iWoods.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. So that will be showing here soon, I anticipate. I know that's on, like Natasha said, it's on Cody's list to fix. Okay, Lewis and Clark.
Hi, this is Sabrina Davis. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So currently we have, I think we're doing well. We have 23 out of 25 enrolled that have received industry recognized certificates at this point, either between Flagger certificates or PAC certificates. All of them, all 25 have gotten OSHA and CPR certified, which we know isn't industry recognized, but we have that. And then we have one that's still completing an IT class this semester. And we're working right now to apply their training to some different work sites that we have, houses that we're working on, construction-based. And then we're also excited right now. We've been working a lot with 22, and we're going to be co-enrolling youth in some work site experience with them. So that's
great.
Pretty much where we're at right now.
Take a look at your dashboard, because you do have, you have 24 that shows registered with IWDS, but you have 22 enrolled. So you might want to take, and then there was 2 that needed to complete the suitability. So just make sure that you've got all the information in workNet system. And then the same way, we've got 13, which is a factor of working with the LWIA to get the services in IWDS, but there's 13 open requested for IWDS services that are past due, 5 days past due. And then there's 4 individuals that still need their iStep activity uploaded. So just look at your dashboard just to verify that everything's being counted appropriately.
Okay, I think we've sent our case manager who was inputting the information, I think she sent a couple of emails for some assistance, because I'm not sure, we're not sure why it's still showing up that way with those students.
Okay, and then just reach out to us if there is an issue. I mean, that, myself or Natasha Telder, we can take a look and see if there's something.
Okay, yeah, it was Belinda. I'm pretty sure she reached out to Natasha. I think, is Natasha out of the office currently? Or is Natasha
no, I'm on the phone right now.
Oh, you're on the phone right now. I'm sorry.
I'm the one that started the call.
Okay, sorry.
Natasha's a very, very busy person.
I know. So, yeah, we do need to figure that out. That's,
okay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but just, like I said, take a look, there, and then if there is assistance that needs to be, had, just let us know, if you can't figure it out, what we can do to help with that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And then Youth Build Lake County. Do we have anybody on? Let me see if you checked in. Yeah, maybe you're just not on the phone, and that's fine. Okay, so we've gone through everybody's progress reports.
Hello?
Yes. Do we have?
Hi, this is Manufacturing Renaissance.
Oh, okay, great.
Just wanted to give a report. So we have 25 students that are registered with IWDS and have received services, and we sent 15 of those students to internships for spring break, and they received all passing marks for their internships for spring break. And we have approximately 16 of our students that are certified for OSHA 10 as well, and then we're working on NIM certification.
Awesome. Hey, one thing I noticed in the dashboard is there's nobody that has academic learning services. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's an activity that you guys need to add. I'm showing 25 under case management and 25 under work-based learning services, but nothing was coming up for academic.
I will have to reach out offline and check in with that, because the services that we're providing are career-based services.
Okay. So that may not be academic.
So we don't, from my understanding, we're not providing an academic component directly. I mean, indirectly, yes, but not directly.
Yeah, that's based on your program design, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't something that was just an oversight or whatever. Okay. Thank you so much. Do we have anybody else?
Yeah, the Cabby Group?
Yes.
Okay. So we currently have, good morning, everyone. We have 20 enrolled in IWDS and Illinois WorkNet. Of those 20, we have 10 that are in employer-based training, which is where they're getting occupational skills training through real work experience with the actual employer. And then we have 10 that are in certification training, which they're going through different type of classroom structured training to get the information to earn the certifications that we're offering or licenses. We currently have 4 who have expressed interest and eligibility, and it's our goal and plan that they would have put in their application at Illinois WorkNet by this Friday, so we can enroll them, and a few more nice list of names to be pre-screened to move forward. So that's where we're at.
Sounds good. And with you and like with all of our providers, once again, when you're talking through this, just please look at your dashboard to make sure, like, I have work-based learning, which could be many different activities, but I'm showing 17 in that, so it could be other activities, obviously, besides just the, you know, a WEX or something. But I just want you to make sure that when your dashboard, specifically your service statuses, make sense based upon what you're doing with your customers. So we want to make sure that you're documenting everything, you know, and not leaving anything out also on that.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? I think we pretty much...
This is Jamila with City of Peoria.
Yeah. How are things going with you guys?
Hi. Sorry, I was out in the field and was listening via my phone, but I can't talk. So I made it back into the office. So a quick update for our progress. We have 6 of our 10 that will be testing this Friday for their industry-recognized credential in green infrastructure. We have, of our 7 that are currently enrolled, we have about half of them, about 4, that have obtained employment after the program. And we're working with the other 3 to secure their, to support their process with enrolling in school. And we're currently recruiting for our 2nd cohort. So we're bringing in another cohort of 10 at the end of May.
That sounds great. Good deal. And for this next meeting or a call that we have, we'll add that completion information too, so with the employment information, and we can discuss, you know, if there's any questions as far as how to document employment and exit statuses. That'll be one of our next steps too. Because like I said, once again, we're doing great as far as the front end of it and moving customers and getting them into IWTS, and now we're doing, you know, even better on documenting services. So our next step is going to be that completion step. And then so we can start showing those successes as far as people being employed. So that's wonderful. Good deal.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other updates? Have I missed anybody else? Okay, if not, we're going to wrap it up. I do have 2 questions for you by a show of hands. How many of you would like to do services past December? Actually providing training services past December. Okay. And then how many of you guys are willing to do or will do the in-kind for the follow-up? Because I know we had a question related to that, so that's obviously one of our requirements. So if you are going to be providing services, and if you want to extend your grant for services past like the December date, you just have to be willing to do that follow-up services even after the term of the grant expires in June. Okay, great. So you guys are willing. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much. Live and learn. This is, like I said, this is a pilot project, and so it's kind of got off to a little bit of a rocky start, but I think we're starting to really get things moving, and it sounds like you guys are having great successes in the field, so that's what's really exciting about this whole thing. Okay, with that, you guys have a great afternoon and a great weekend coming up, and hopefully we'll see some spring here soon. Take care.
Thank you.